That's a horrible mistake. That's kind of an amateur mistake, is engaging your enemy on equal footing. And so in the martial arts, or if you watch like say UFC, MMA, boxing, whatever, you'll see
Yeah.
like the boring parts where people just kind of throw punches at each other, like really weak punches, and you see
Mhm.
them do that. That's two equally skilled martial artists. That's how martial arts work. They're just taking pokes at each other. They're trying to size each other up and try to find a weakness in the enemy. And so this is what we would call a poke battle. But the difference is we're playing to our strengths, which is we're dangerous at a distance, aka me shooting at you with accurate fire to your head or accurate headshots. And then we're also dangerous if they want to get in close because of your hammer. And I can manipulate them either way. I can bring them closer to you, or I can keep them away from us with halt. So that's why we're in that corner. And if you're at the 3 minute 50-second marker with Reinhardt's point of view, enemy Reinhardt, um,
Mhm.
he's smart for not engaging us. He's smart for staying right there. He's taking on invincibility, while his team can safely engage us at a distance and just whittle down our shields.
Okay.
It's a lot to take in, but it's at these crucial moments where your passiveness and your discipline as a team come into play. You want to wait for your team to regroup before you do anything else. And at this moment, I'm going to hit play. And that's a great fire strike you did right there, too. You're just poking at them. So even though we do move up, we're still safe. We have that wall between us, and they can't hit us. And that's what a stalemate looks like. That's what it means to take on invincibility. And let's just stay on the enemy Reinhardt's point of view. So right now, we make appearance every now and then, and I do that just to confirm where their position is at, because I don't want them to do a sneak attack on our sides and flank us when we're not ready. But by doing so, they know we're still in that room. And that Reinhardt is smart for staying right there, because he knows that we're on the right side, and Genji's coming in at them with his Dragon Blade. And I'm gonna pause it right there at the 2 minute and 40-second mark. So
Okay.
a lot of people will get mad at a Genji for solo diving 1v6. But honestly, I'm glad he did, because it forced a response from the enemy to do something. That's what we call a poke right there. And by forcing that response, it will change the situation, because one, we don't want to be in this stalemate forever, because the resource we're wasting right now is time, and that's a valuable resource. And so the way we're
Mhm.
utilizing that resource is by information gathering, and trying to figure out as much information as we can and trying to confirm that information.
Well, it's a really nice like analysis of everything that's happening, and it's cool to see the how managing your inflow, like what you're getting from the battlefield, is just as important as realizing like what's happening for the other enemy team, as much as it is what's happening to you. Because if, like you say, you don't create that like invulnerability stance or that attitude, you're not going to get anywhere, because they're constantly going to feel like they can push you and do stuff with you, impose their will upon you.
Yeah. So what marker are you at right now?
I'm at 240 right now, from
240?
the Ryan's point of view.
Alright, cool. Um, Go ahead and hit play,
Okay.
and I'll be a few seconds behind you, because I inadvertently hit play. That's why I kind of stopped talking. Sorry about that. But
You're
let me
good.
know when you get at the 2 minute and 14-second mark.
Okay.
Yeah. And all you're gonna see is just us kind of peeking our heads out, looking for that intel, seeing where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pause it when you get to that 2 minute 14-second mark. Let me know
Alright.
when you're there. Let me know when you're there.
I'm there.
Alright. So I'm a few seconds behind you. So, enemy Reinhardt moves forward because he sees Zarya shooting that way, and Reinhardt wants to know what's going on. And all he sees right now is just us coming up.
Yeah.
And pause it, pause it, pause it.
Yep.
Boom, right there. That's why it's so important to be patient and to be disciplined to wait for an opening. And this is where your mechanical skill come into play. You beat his charge with your Earth Shatter. That's why your mechanical skill is so important, is that even though, yes, we have all these tactical advantages over them, we're smarter players, the execution and performance is what's important. Because I'd rather have a perfect execution of a crappy plan than a piss poor execution of a perfect plan.
Right.
Yeah. And so that's how I value things. That's how I see it. Because you beat their Reinhardt with his charge, and you charging him takes him away from the front line. He's not going to Earth Shatter us. And this is the response I was waiting for, actually. Because at the 2-minute marker, when you pause it, boom, they're off the
Yep.
front line. We're pushing things again. And if I understand correctly, based on your personality, you did that instinctively without me telling you anything.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was just like a natural do it now type thing.
yeah. Now, the thing about it though is, I'm glad you did it because it forced a response from the enemy that I took advantage of, that our team took advantage of. It's just that I'd rather we not use it at the risk of a Reinhardt because now we can't defend against his Earthshatter that I now know he has.
Yeah.
So the trade-off is really E 50-50. We lost a man for that space. And so it's up to us to capitalize on that opening you gave us and make it work. And so that's where the martial and mechanical skill comes into play. That's why you want to put the time in practicing. This is where the get good mentality comes into play. And I'm going to play it right now.
Hmm.
That Reinhardt's at the front line, his shield breaks, my shield breaks, it's on cooldown. And I let my team down. And we died. Because we didn't see that McCree. And I'm disappointed, yeah. Because I wasted my supercharger. We wasted a lot of our ultimates for nothing. And so I'm actually a little bit frustrated and I'm thinking we're gonna lose this. And so we are running low on time here. And again, time's a valuable resource. Which is why we pushed it so fast in the beginning, so we have that time to come out with a new plan and try to figure out what's gonna happen next. But at this point in the game, this Reinhardt's smart, and he just got lit the fuck up because he wasn't expecting us to be right there again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boom. He charges, you charge back. And our team capitalizes on the fact that he's no longer at the front line.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that's just our team being better skilled than their team. They saw an opening, and they just took it. That's kind of all there was. That's all there was to that.
And then we got the secure the victory.
Mm-hmm. Brigitte saves us with that shield bash too.
Oh, to stop the shatter from the Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my shield down already, but boom. Yeah, that's nice. And holy crap, you spent like what, 2.5 hours on just 10-minute gameplay?
Yeah. Yeah, just 10-minute quick play match.
Yeah, and as you already said yourself, there's a lot of factors that are involved, and we can always go over it over and over again until we're blue in the face. But I'm
Yeah,
glad
well,
you
that
have that
really.
mentality. I'm glad you have that mentality though, because a lot of people aren't gonna do that, unfortunately. And I see a lot of that mistake at the higher level where I'm at in platinum and diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, from what I can objectively say was that the enemy was definitely skilled. They maybe had there was probably high level players making alternate accounts and smurfing at the lower levels. And at that point where both teams are not making mistakes, I'm pretty quiet. I'm pretty useless because I don't know quite sure about what's the next best play because the enemy isn't giving me information to um, examine, and that's also a part of skill. As you said earlier, just being smarter than your opponent is just as important than being mechanically better than them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because if you can process like what's happening and formulate a way to deal with it on the fly, it's less of kill, kill, kill than push, kill, hold for a second more, push now, kill now, do this, do that. Instead of like the enemy team just consistently going to just the kill, instead of like trying to stop the payload or react to a scenario that's building up. Because if you can like look at what's happening, you can kind of predict what's about to happen.
yeah,
Like if you haven't seen, um, because Ryan gets a lot of his ult charge from Fire Strike,
mhm,
and if he hasn't Fire Striked in forever, he probably has Shatter.
right,
And if you haven't seen the Zarya bubble him, if they're communicating and he steps in front of the shields, like full well knowing he's fitting to get shot, and
mhm,
she bubbles him, you
yeah,
can almost guarantee what's fitting to happen next. And nine
yeah,
times out of 10, he's gonna shatter.
mhm,
And if you can take that information and like use it to your advantage, like I don't know if Brig noticed he was about to shatter, but she stopped it with that shield bash.
yeah,
And that could have been as simple as like me shattering back just to knock him over so he can't pin or fire strike or swing his hammer. If you can take all that information, like you say, and make a better informed tactical plan or decision, whereas your opponent is just attack, 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 you can usually help with the right, mechanical and martial skill win more effectively and quicker, and most more of the time than teams who don't have a plan.
mhm,
And as long as you're about the same, mechanical and martial level, a better plan will win,
mhm,
and a better executed plan will win. But like obviously, if they're better than you mechanically and martially, and they kill you way more, you probably lose.
yeah,
But if everybody's kind of on the same field, and one team has a really good plan and a really good like A, B, and C plan, and the other team doesn't have any plan other than let's just try to hold them and kill them more than anything else, and not strategize, they'll most likely lose.
mhm. Now, on the surface, everything I glossed over today was objective. Well, I feel like facts. They
Yeah,
were objective. They were things that we could review, look at, and analyze and discuss amongst the two of us to come to a conclusion. And so,
exactly.
yeah. But it's a lot different when I'm actually just kind of quietly sitting there thinking and trying to figure out what to do next. That's an entirely different skill right there. Because, well, how do I say this? I'm not a genius for pointing out the obvious mistakes in the enemy. An overextended, isolated enemy, yeah, just shoot that thing up. It's obvious, and I'm not a genius for it. I'm a genius because I'm able to figure out what to do next and make the best out of the situation on the fly, quicker and better than my opponent.
Exactly, and that's what wins the day is when you can effectively react better to any situation than being able to perfectly react to one situation.
Something like that way, yeah. I wouldn't phrase it like that way because it talks like an absolute, and I'm never big on absolutes myself. There are
Well,
many
it's
games I've won where I have no idea what's going on. I don't know my teammates. I don't know why they're kind of making mistakes at our platinum diamond level. And
yeah,
so in situations like that where I'm in a disadvantage, I'm better off just solo diving as a Genji, and opposing my role on the enemy, forcing them to react to me and hopefully a teammate will capitalize on the mistake that they make to try to kill me, a obvious lone Genji with no backup. So even in our perceived advantages and disadvantages, um, I can still change the outcome of a fight if I'm lucky enough. Lucky enough to have a teammate who can capitalize on what I'm doing. But that's just a
Exactly.
nuance. And at this point in the discussion, I would say that all warfare is based on deception. As human beings, we've naturally evolved to be deceptive creatures because that's how we survived.
True.
And
True.
when it comes to me facing another enemy who's just as smart or maybe smarter than me, and those are the worst matchups I have is when I face a smart enemy. That's the scariest kind of opponent you'll ever face, in my opinion. And then it will turn into a match of who can deceive each other better. Yeah, I may feign weak, or well, not. It's more like, okay, if the enemy figures out that I'm not mechanically better than them, and they start to solo me or solo dive me, I will then proceed to lead them into a trap by leading them into the rest of my team. So whereas they're chasing a lone Genji, I'll inadvertently lead them to the rest of my team where they're not ready for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, at that point, it's just another hypothetical situation that I don't like talking about because they're only what if scenarios.
Yeah. And they usually think about it or talk about it after the fact. Like that one time you don't lead them to your team, you're like, well, damn it, if only I had led them to my team. And at that point, like you say, it's useless. It's already happened at that point.
Mm-hmm. Now, uh, since we spent a lot of time talking here, and I'm glad we did because I tried to cover as many of the applicable stuff as I could from the book Art of War into this one game. And I would recommend you check out that book on any way you can. It's pretty helpful. I can send you
Okay.
a link if you want to. You can check it out.
Okay. Yeah, sure, for sure.
Alright, cool. But yeah, no, I'm still free for another hour or two if you want to keep playing, or if you have any questions, or if you want to talk some more. And you know,
I have to be up for work in about 2 hours.
ooh, I'm so sorry, man, to keep you up this
No,
late.
no, 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 no. I do well with no sleep, but when I get home after that, I'm probably gonna fall in to the couch when I get home.
All right,
But
man.
um, I guess I would say like overall, like I think you're very you speak what you think very well, and you say what you mean, and you weren't afraid to kind of like point out scenarios where like I kind of messed up. Like you weren't rude, but you kind of asked me like, "Hey, do you see what went wrong here?" Or like when I didn't put my shield up for that graviton, you didn't like, "Oh, you sucked for not putting your shield up." You said, "Oh, and just remember like, when graviton happens, whip your shield up and hold it, in case they try to ult using other ults or stuff like that." And you speak wise words and you're very smart, obviously, and it shows in your gameplay and the way you help people out. Like I would say, overall, you were a very good teacher, and I appreciated having you take the time to play a game and spend 3 hours analyzing what happened. And
No
I do
problem at
appreciate
all,
the
my
effort you
guy.
put into it.
Ready for battle.
Like I said, I'm glad um, you extended the olive branch because like I've seen like you said a lot of other people on there will say stuff like, "Oh, just use corners more," or "Oh, just hit more headshots." Like that plays into like the mechanical side of the game, which I feel like is easy enough to do on your own. Like go into um like quick play and just ignore everybody and play, trying to hit your headshots or there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do on your own, but like all of that we just went through and like breaking down a 10-minute game, like 10 seconds at the time and like talking about how everything shifted, every few seconds and positions and examining different ways, we can look at stuff and all of that throughout the whole match. And not just from our perspective, but like seeing that tangible response from the enemy in regards to our actions has really helped like open my eyes into seeing, because now that you showed it to me and like talked to me about it, I can remember games where I've seen that kind of same opening, like the two shatters that I got off and stuff like that. Like I've seen moments where that could have happened in other games, and I didn't take it because I didn't know there was that presence or that force of will and moment to do so. Like I always looked at it like just another second in Overwatch.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I lost my voice talking, as you can tell.
No, you're good, man. I know I talk a lot and I know I can rant, but I just like it's the first time I've ever been able to open up and like relate to a to someone who like thinks like that. And it was really nice to be able to find someone to kind of floats in the same boat a little bit and able to help me transition that thinking to Overwatch to help me get better at it.
Right on. Yeah, man, if you ever come across someone else using the same bow and wants help, feel free to send them my way. It's just that they gotta be a good student, first of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one dude I tried to help him out, and he just kind of kept talking about the mechanical side of things. And, I did my best. That's all I can say about that.
You did your best. Well, your best is pretty good, and I'm surprised more people don't, seek you out to, try to learn a little something something and get
Nah,
better.
dude, if you go on the Facebook group and look at my post history, I'll kind of talk about some things, actually, and you just see a very low response to a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that group has a lot of like I call it an echo chamber
It is.
because the same kind of people will say the same things over and over.
Yeah.
And the only people who get like responses are either mercy mains willing to pocket someone, thirsty dudes looking for mercy mains to pocket them, or when like Jack Holland or the Caleb guy from over there in Egypt post. Like when certain people post, they get like big responses just because of their name, and people posting about like more like it's just the same shit over and over, and I'm like, this is really boring.
Yeah.
And then like when people like you or other people that have really different opinions of stuff gets posted, it might get either I've only seen like it go two ways. Either they get a very little response, or when it does get a lot of response, everybody's trying to like bash the poster
Yeah.
because of their opinion or how they look at a scenario or a game. And it's like, really, guys? Like, we're all here to get better at Overwatch. Like, help build each other up.
Honestly, I kind of laugh at. Yeah, I really do laugh at the negative responses I get on my posts, just because objectively it's one less dumb, or it's one less smart opponent I got to deal with, and it's just another generic dumb player I can take advantage of.
Yeah, and like you say, I couldn't imagine like you on like your regular like group of people that you play with, like you guys all like mesh well and whatnot. Like I couldn't imagine you guys like meeting an equally forceful group of players. Like you say, like there's a couple people or even one person on the other team who's like your twin who thinks like you do and whatnot, and just guides his team in the same way, and his team knows how to listen and do what they do best. Like that must be some of your best matches is when you meet people who are in the same vein as you.
Uh, it's a nuance for me. I would have to kind of talk about it in detail, but maybe for another time because you got to work in a few more hours.
Yeah, I'm
But
fitting to
honestly,
head
my
off.
I think my favorite games are the easy ones I play, where my opponent is stupid. Those are my best games. my favorite games.
You
Uh,
just steamroll over them.
no, not necessarily steamroll. It's more of the fact. Well, okay, so this is another quote from The Art of War. I've taken it personally because I'm a martial artist in real life, and
Yeah.
martial arts and philosophy can go hand in hand for a lot of things. And so I just reflected on a lot of different philosophies and books, and just over a span of years. But the height of skill is to not win 100 battles. The height of skill is to subdue your enemy 100 times. Then the second one is, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, and in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. If you know yourself but you do not know your enemy, you will win half your battles and you will lose half your battles. If you do not know yourself and if you do not know your enemy, you will be in peril every single time.
I see where that could apply to Overwatch really well.
Yeah, it's really deep. I like it. It has so many meanings and layers. Layers.
Yeah, you could kind of put that to like anything really,
Yeah,
like if
exactly,
you
man.
thought hard enough. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes The Art of War such a great book to at least check out. The only problem is just that the way it's worded in English, or it depends on your translation actually, and who interprets for you.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
can kind of get the wording a little wonky if you're not
Mm.
careful.
Yeah. I read that book at least a dozen times at various stages of my life, and my mentality will always change how I interpret it. And so
And
that's
that's
what.
good too because you change over the years and over time, and it you just gain a better understanding. I feel like, after
Yeah.
you look at stuff from different points of view throughout your life.
But yeah, no, man. If you go back on a group, just leave me a good review, man.
Yeah, I will,
Cause,
man. I'll
'cause
definitely throw some toss a coin to my Witcher.
yeah, there's like only one dude I ever play with on that group. His name is Lance. It's like, yeah, I solo queue a lot of these things actually. I solo queued my way from gold all the way into diamond.
I've solo queued all the way from bronze to gold, pretty
That is
much.
amazing, actually. That's pretty good.
Like when I got Overwatch, I didn't have anyone to play with, and I had a group of friends who I played Siege with a lot. And when they found out I played Overwatch, they were like, "Oh, let's play Overwatch." And I'm
Nice.
like, "Okay." And we were at like starting to get into silver, and I've always played like an aggressive Rhine, and he's like, "You can't play Rhine aggressively. Like he's meant to be a really passive, like stand back tank." And I'm like, bro, like I watch the pros, I watch people at high level play, you know, higher than gold and stuff, and I'm like, I watch these people play, and 9 times out of 10 they're playing the Rhine at least like moderately aggressive. Sometimes they're not as aggressive as I am, but they're always playing him kind of aggressively, and I'm like, we need to like come on, like help me out here, and they're like, well, if you're going to continue to play tanks aggressively, we're not going to play with you anymore. So I was like, you know what? Okay, fair enough. And then for a few months, while I was, not playing with those friends, I solo queued my way to gold in tank and DPS.
Nice.
And now I just sit in silver like a pleb.
No, I started out in silver when I first got this. I had to group up and teamed up with some friends, made some friends, and they got me into gold. We got each other into gold. Then, yeah, life happened. We went our separate ways, and I just kept playing by myself.
Well, you're a good player, man, and you know your shit. So I'll leave you a nice little 5-star review.
Appreciate that love, man. Appreciate that love.
Oh, totally. But it's like 6:30 for me,
All right.
and I'm probably gonna die at some point today. So
I'm so sorry about that,
if
man.
you see me on the news, you know what happened.
All right.
All right, man. We'll catch you later. If I get on and see you on, obviously I'll hit you up and whatnot.
All right, man.
All right. Well, have a good night, buddy, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at some point,
All right,
or
man.
today technically, whatever it is.
So, semantics.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night.
All right. Deuces.
Peace out.